What's up guys, I'm Chris Doughty, aka Doubtinator. Welcome to the Race Asylum YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to explain all the tips and tricks you need to know to get the most out of the Nissan GTR Motul Ortec 2016 Group 2 car. This car in Group 2 is probably the most versatile car of all of the cars in this category. It's a very nice car to drive. Almost every single race I've done in Group 2 has been with this Nissan GTR. It may not be the fastest over a single lap, it may not be the best with tyre wear, but it's almost always a super safe car to drive when it comes to racing Group 2. Now let's start to discuss some of the traits that the car has. The Nissan GTR is in the Group 2 category, so there's actually got quite a lot of downforce on the car. So you can, once you're above 100 miles an hour, once you're into third gear, the car is really safe and stable. It turns in very nicely. It doesn't over-rotate on corner entry. And once you're above third gear, you can be really aggressive on the throttle. You're not going to lose the back end unless you are really suffering with tyre wear or dirty tyres. For brake bias, this car is actually really quite balanced, so you can be using around brake balance 0 and the car drives really quite nicely. So you're tuning the brake bias specifically for the track. There's no set rule to be always to the plus or always to the minus. I usually start out with any new track start at brake bias 0 and then just tune depending how I want the car. If I want the car to understeer a little more on corner entry, I'll move the brake bias towards the front. If I want to rotate the rear a little bit more and trail brake to the apex of the corner with a bit of rotation, I'll move the brake bias to the rear. Also, you can control the way the tyres wear with the brake bias. So if you're wearing your front tyres too much, move the brake bias to the rear. Likewise, if you're wearing your rear tyres too much, you push the brake bias to the front and try and maintain an even front to rear tyre wear distribution. In first and second gear, certainly when you're on the racing hard tyres, the car can be quite wild on throttle, but you don't actually need too much opposite lock to catch it. The car will just regain control with a little flick of opposite lock just to correct that slide. Once you're into third gear, the car is very stable. You can be very aggressive on the throttle. But to be fast with this car, I think it's good to get on the throttle early. In the kind of second gear kind of corners, you can get on the throttle early, just trail a bit of throttle, and almost the opposite to the Lamborghini Huracan, you can use the throttle to rotate the rear on corner exit. So you're using throttle to gain rotation rather than to stabilize the car like you do with a Lamborghini Huracan. So it's a technique. There's a certain amount of throttle you can use that gets that perfect amount of rotation, which helps you get on the throttle earlier and carry more exit speed. Too much throttle, you slide the rear too much and you over rotate and scrub too much speed. Not enough throttle and you don't quite activate that rear sliding motion, and you're actually losing some exit speed from that corner. When using the car on the brakes, the car is very stable. Most of the time, unless you're using a very rearward brake bias, the rear does not want to rotate. The car doesn't have too much lift off oversteer. I think because it's a front engine rear wheel drive car, balancing the throttle isn't too much of an issue. Again, almost opposite to the Lamborghini Huracan in Group 3, you can be very aggressive with your turn-in with this car. Downshifting this car, you can go down through the gearbox pretty quickly. I normally take my final downshift to be a little later in the turn-in point, but that almost depends on which corner you're taking and how you want to take the corner. When you're going up through the gearbox, the car likes to be revved out, so go right to the end of the rev bar on screen, and that'll be pretty good. You can rev the car beyond that rev bar, but I think you start to lose power in that phase of the acceleration. And one final thing to note about this car, and maybe more specifically to Group 2 as a class in general, because of the high downforce of these cars, when you're running in traffic, when you're in the dirty air of the car in front, you do lose downforce, and most specifically you lose front downforce. The car will start to understeer through some of the high-speed corners, and if you're following a car closely, you will start to understeer compared to what you're used to when running in clean air. Going to run you through it now through a lap on board. Keep an eye on the throttle trace. You'll see me using that just a quarter throttle on corner exits, just to kind of get that rear to rotate, and then once you get confident you can get it up to smash it to full throttle and get out the corner. As you can see, once you're up to third gear and above, you can really just be very aggressive with throttle inputs. The car is perfectly safe and capable of doing that. Again, with the braking, the downshifting, it's not a problem to be very aggressive on corner entry. You can trail your brakes right to the apex of the corner, and it just works perfectly fine. It's a really good car. It gives you confidence to drive. Don't be afraid of the car. It's a Group 2 car. It's faster than Group 3. In some instances, it's probably quite a bit easier to drive than some of the Group 3 cars. In this corner here, we actually missed the apex, but we can drag it back on the corner exit with a little bit of throttle, and you'll just see ahead here, we're going to make too much throttle on this left-hander and over-rotate the rear, but quite quickly the rear just snaps back into place as we get on the switch back to the other direction. So again, when going left to right through these corners, the car just sticks. As soon as it's finished sliding, the car just sticks. It has so much grip. Again, once you're above third gear, the car is absolutely stuck to the road. We're driving on the racing medium tyres right now. On racing soft tyres, the car is even more amplified. The grip is insane. But when you run fuel in the car feels a little heavier, but it actually just feels nicer to drive. Everything just happens a bit slower. So right now we've got no fuel in the car. It's a qualifying setup, no tyre wear on the racing medium tyres through this right-hander ahead. It's just a lift off the throttle and just carry the car through that corner. I think when softs, that'll be a fully flat-out corner. And when you're on the racing hard tyres, you just need to pay a little bit more attention to throttle application in first and second gear. First gear in this car is quite wild, so you want to short shift up to second gear as soon as you can. And also, while you're learning the car, don't be afraid just to early shift into third gear, just to stabilise that car on the corner exit. But as you want to get more and more out of the car, there is that perfect amount of throttle and slip angle slide on the corner exits that allow you to really carry great speed on these corner exits. Here we're going to go through the chicane once more. You're going to see us over rotate a little bit using the curb, and it just snaps back into line as we switch back to the other direction. So what I'm saying before, this isn't a car where you need to really hang it on the opposite lock. All you need is just a flick of opposite lock and then get back into the direction you want to be turning to get the car to snap back in line. This high downforce car really likes to be driven like that. I think that covers most things about the way this car drives. If I've forgotten something, if I've missed something out, or indeed if you think I've got something wrong, let me know in the comments below. It's always great to start a conversation and discuss these things. If I was to only buy one car in the Group 2 category, it would be this Nissan GTR Motul Ortec 2016 model. It is the most versatile car of all. If you are looking for a single super fast hot lap car where tyre wear isn't enabled, maybe it's the 2016 NSX. But if you want a car that's got really good tyre wear, then it's the Lexus seems to be very good. The 2016 Lexus seems to be good on tyre wear. But I really haven't come across a situation in any daily race, in any event that I've ever done with Group 2, where this Nissan GTR isn't one of the best cars to drive. On screen right now is hopefully going to be some links to other videos which is going to help you get faster in GT Sport. Also, don't forget to check out the link below for the Race Asylum Discord. We're here to help you get faster in GT Sport. If you have enjoyed this video, hit that like button, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and we'll catch you in the next one.